You are looking live.
Here comes the play. Goodman at the free throw line. Jumper.
He broke his ankles. He is Houdini.
Mickey Mantle don't care about you, so why should you care about him? Nobody cares.
That's not a good call. No.
You don't like that call.
I don't like that call.
Woo, 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 woo. Not so fast.
As I mentioned before the break, we'll be getting to Deshaun Watson this segment. And for those that live under a rock, Deshaun Watson has getting himself into some trouble in the offseason. And he has not played a game for the Houston Texans yet. And I think both sides really want to trade. It's just a matter of who he's going to be traded to. And nice trip up there. The trade deadline is November 2nd, which is this upcoming Tuesday. So they've got, including today, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and including Tuesday, 5 days to get a deal done. And there have been a few teams that have had interest or have had reported interest in Deshaun Watson. One of those being the Philadelphia Eagles. We've heard them kind of pop up every now and then. The Carolina Panthers have popped up every now and then. And I believe the Broncos were up there at one point. But the one team that's been consistently at the top of this thing is the Miami Dolphins. And according to the Houston Chronicle and the New York Post, a deal has been approved. Dolphins owner Stephen Ross has reportedly approved a trade for Watson on one condition, and that condition is that Watson's legal issues are settled. Watson is still currently facing 22 civil lawsuits of sexual misconduct. 10 women have filed police complaints. As I mentioned, the trade deadline is on November 2nd, right around the corner. And Stephen Ross, as I mentioned, the Dolphins owner, wants Watson's legal issues settled before the deal is done. These allegations were made public back in March, and it is now October, and none of those civil lawsuits have been solved yet. None of them have been resolved. None of them have been, I don't even think they've gotten anywhere on them. I don't really know where they are. It seems like they're kind of dragging their feet on this a little bit. And the Dolphins are the only team that Watson has waived his no-trade clause for throughout this whole process, despite other teams such as Philadelphia and Carolina having interest in him. Stephen Ross also wants to know if Roger Goodell plans to suspend Watson and how long. And Watson right now is not on any suspension list or anything like that. And while maybe he should be, he hasn't really, the NFL or Houston, I guess Houston kind of has suspended him in their own way. But the NFL at least hasn't had to suspend Watson because between Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans, each side is kind of stubborn on where they are. And basically, Deshaun Watson isn't going to play for the Houston Texans, and that's that. Roger Goodell at an NFL owners meeting last Friday said, quote, "We don't have all the access to that information," meaning the off-field issues with Watson, and pride ourselves on not interfering with it. That process is ongoing. We don't feel that we have the necessary information to place him on the exempt list. Talking about the commissioner's exempt list. As I said, Watson is not suspended right now because there's really no need, as he's not playing anyway. Any team involved in trading for Deshaun Watson has to be very careful with the legal issues, and we're seeing that here for the Dolphins and their owner, kind of saying the same thing, like, "Oh, I don't want a guy on my team that has 22 civil lawsuits against him right now," because that could shake out in so many different ways. There's a lot of unknown, and I think that is why it has taken so long for a team to get a deal done. I don't think that Dolphins owner Stephen Ross is the only guy who's saying, whoa, I want to know for sure that, I think every team that has talked to Houston wants some reassurance, wants to be reassured that they're not going to trade for Deshaun Watson and then all 22 of those cases explode, right? Because what happens then, right? What happens if a team trades for Deshaun Watson and then all of a sudden all 22, like worst case scenario, all 22 of those cases turn out to be true, right? Now you just gave up a good amount of draft picks probably. You gave up a star player or two for a guy that now you can't play because, he's probably going to jail or something weird, right? And I think that is why every team is being super careful with this. And again, rightfully so. And Stephen Ross, again, the Dolphins have kind of been the front runner as a team that has that has had interest in Watson. But I want to look at this thing solely on the Dolphins. I want to look at this on another side of things. How awkward must this be for Tua Tagovailoa, right? There's no doubt in my mind he hears these rumors, right? He knows, right? I mean, you go on Twitter, on NFL Twitter, and and when I say NFL Twitter, I don't mean NFL's account. I mean just NFL fans and NFL talk on Twitter or whatever, right? You look at the Dolphins, all they're talking about is Tua being traded for Watson, right? And well, is Watson going to be traded to the Dolphins? That's the one thing that we hear a lot. And how awkward must that be for him, right? Tua's going out there, and last week I know that the Dolphins lost, and I know that he threw, I think, 2 interceptions. But he had, I think, we had it on In the Zone. I'll pull it up real quick. He wasn't awful last week if you look at his stats. But the problem with Tua is in crunch time is when he crumbles. And Tua, last week, Tua threw for 291 yards, 4 touchdowns. He only had 8 incompletions in that game. 2 of those were interceptions. And, I think that people, and I agree with people saying that Tua is not the best, right? Obviously, if Tua Tagovailoa was really all that good, the Dolphins are obviously not going to be 1-6 to this point, or at this point. And I get that. I totally agree with that. However, I feel like this is going to be incredibly awkward for Tua to go out on the field for a team that is trying to trade him, right? I mean, that's really weird. And I also feel like, the Dolphins are giving up on Tua Tagovailoa too quickly, right? No more than 2 years ago, we were hearing that Tua was the future of this team, and now because he hasn't taken them to the Super Bowl right away, right? Because he hasn't won the division for them right away, people are giving up on him. And this is the classic thing we see with a lot of teams, right? Where the murmurs of this are kind of happening right now in Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts. And this happens with a lot of teams. Fan bases get a young quarterback. They don't go undefeated in the first year, right? They don't take him to the playoffs the first year. And people are so quick to just say, well, he's not the guy. The Dolphins didn't win the AFC East in Tua's first 2 years, so that means he can't, he's not the future of the team, right? And, I think, I don't know, I think that's kind of a stupid thing to do when you went and drafted this guy, 2 years ago it was, or 3 years ago it was, and now, because he hasn't taken you to the playoffs right away, you're trying to ship him out of town. That's kind of unfair to me. And again, Tua's numbers are not awful other than his turnovers, right? The turnovers have to get better, there's no doubt in my mind. But you look at his surrounding cast and his supporting cast on the Dolphins, it's not all that great, right? And that's the thing that we talk about in a common theme, right? That's been the key theme with the Ravens, right? Lamar Jackson is not the problem. It was his supporting cast. Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown can only do so much, and the running backs can only do so much. He needs more weapons as wide receiver. They went out, they get Sammy Watkins, they draft Rashad Bateman. Things are looking up for them. And this is a common theme that you look at from other teams as well, right? I think the Eagles had to make an effort to go out and get some weapons this offseason. They draft Devontae Smith, or as my roommate likes to call him, Devonta Smith. I don't know how he can't pronounce his name, but that's whatever. Again, that's a common theme throughout any team. With Baker Mayfield, that's another common theme, is that he cannot carry a team. He needs a good supporting cast. Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, so on and so forth. The Dolphins, the same thing is with the Dolphins, right? And that's the thing in the NFL that is so different than NBA. In the NBA, you can have one guy go off for 50 points or whatever, and he can carry the team to a win. In the NFL, very rarely can one guy carry a team and win the Super Bowl or whatever, right? In the NFL and in college football as well, and in football, you need a complete team to win a championship. One guy is very rarely going to win the whole thing for you. One guy is very rarely going to carry you to a Super Bowl. The only kind of cases that we've seen, the only times we've really seen that is with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. And the Patriots, excuse me. But, again, very rarely in football, you cannot have one guy carry a team to a championship unless he's very, very good, such as Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, right? And even Lamar Jackson has done that a few times this season for the Ravens. You get the point. You look at Tua's supporting cast, and it's Myles Gaskin and Will Fuller, right? I mean, those guys aren't awful, but not great, right? Not the best. And I think if you take Tua and give him some really good weapons, I think you're going to see, and Mike Gesicki's a pretty decent tight end as well for the Dolphins. But I think that Tua, and this is kind of a theme that I've seen with Jacksonville, with Lawrence, and with Chicago, with Fields, is that they're really forced to carry the team. And as I mentioned, you are not a quarterback or any player, much less a young quarterback, is very rarely going to carry a team to a successful season. And I think that right now for Tua Tagovailoa, the issue is they are really kind of forcing him to carry a team, or do a lot of the heavy lifting for a team, and he's only in his second year, and he goes out there, he doesn't have success right away, and guys want to, fans and NFL media guys want to throw him in the garbage already, and that's kind of unfair to me. So, I don't know how this is going to shape out. For me at least, the Dolphins owner wants Watson's issues to be solved before they complete a deal for Watson, and for me at least, common sense tells me if these lawsuits came out public in March, and fast forward 7-8 months, and there's still nothing has happened, not really anything has changed, I don't see anything really changing in the next 4 or 5 days. So, and if it does,